What's up, you guys? My name is Takira and welcome back to my channel, Takira Lachey. If you didn't know, now you know. I'm Takira. Welcome. So today I'm gonna do another criminal series, not series, but like a little video about a true crime that happened in the past. This one's about John Wayne Gacy. So overall, he was convicted of torture, rape, and murder of over 33 young males, and this all took place between 1972 and 1978. He was called the Killer Clown because when he did a lot of this stuff, he was entertaining kids at like hospitals and parties as a clown. He was called Pogo the Clown. That's what he entertained as. And on May 10th, 1994, he was executed by lethal injection. That's how it ended. Now let me give you all the in-between information. So, he was born on March 17th, 1942. At 4, he was verbally and physically abused by his alcoholic father. Although he was abused by his father, he still admired him. His father always called him things like stupid and an idiot because he wasn't super smart, and he was pretty feminine, so he always said he acted like a girl. And then at 7, he was repeatedly molested by a family friend, but he never told anyone because he figured that it would just like give his father more reason to call him feminine and stuff like that. When he was in like elementary school, like I think he was like 11, he was diagnosed with a congenital heart condition that pretty much limited his physical activity. Because it limited his activity that he could do, he became overweight and he was bullied a lot. So he was very insecure and he was bullied, and he had experienced unexplained blackouts, which they later found out was a clot in his brain. But like all these things, they kind of like just build up. He was pretty much in and out of school because of the blackouts, and he was constantly hospitalized. And it kind of just played into the role of his father calling him stupid because he fell behind in school. He eventually dropped out and decided to just leave. He was like, I'm done. Like, decided to leave from his dad. So he went to Las Vegas, Nevada, and he worked with an ambulance facility, and he worked late nights there. And one night, this is kind of where it all started. He was 18. One night, he decided to go into a coffin that had the body of a young boy, and he decided to molest the body of the young boy. And when he finished, he felt shocked with himself, and he decided to just return home and never like speak on what happened, or like and completely just like forget it. So yeah, he went back to Chicago with his dad for a little bit, and then he ended up going to college. He went to Northwestern Business College. Even though he didn't graduate high school, he somehow got in. He ended up working and then transferred to Springfield, Illinois. There, he met Marilyn Myers. I think that's how you say her name. They began dating, and then they married 9 months later. So in the whole like process of trying to bury his past and like not think about what he used to do or what he did that one time, as far as we know, he tried to just become successful in the community, and he was very successful and confident in JC ranks, but he kept having this desire to be sexually involved with male teens. Eventually, he moved to Waterloo, Iowa, where he managed 3 KFCs owned by his wife's father. And he realized that the Waterloo JCs had a dark side where they were heavily involved with things like pornography and prostitutes and wife swapping and drug use. So he participated in some of the activities and began to act on his desires with teenage boys. And most of the boys that he sexually assaulted were working at the KFCs that he managed. That was like the easiest way he felt he could get them. So to lure them, he in their house, he had a basement, and he made it into a hangout to like kind of attract teens, you know, with alcohol and pornography there. And he took advantage of them when they were too intoxicated to fight back. Meanwhile, his wife was busy being pregnant and having to take care of their 2 kids, a boy and a girl. And he was kind of happy because he ended up getting approval for the perfect life from his father. Like, his father was pretty proud of him, saying like, oh, you have a wife, you have kids, you have a good job, you got a perfect life, you did pretty well in life, I guess. But underneath it all, he was just a dirty scumbag. So his confidence and ego grew. He was very cocky, and he wanted to be called the Colonel. A lot of the JC members began distancing themselves from him, not wanting to be involved with him because of how egotistical he was. In August of 1967, he hired a 15-year-old kid named, I'm going to try to get this right, Donald Voorhees. I'm just called him Donald. And he was the son of one of the JC workers. So Gacy knew the kid's dad, Donald's dad. And he hired him to do odd jobs around his house. Eventually, like I said, he lured him into the basement with alcohol and like things teenage boys like. And he forced him to perform oral things with them. Over the next several months, he continued to abuse multiple boys by luring them into his house and giving them odd jobs. Like, he would say there's a scientific research program that he's running, and sometimes he would even go as far as to blackmail them. And this is when his life really started crumbling down. Donald had decided to tell his father about what happened to him, and his dad chose to report it. And then also another boy came forward about what happened to him. So Gacy was arrested and charged with oral sodomy. I think that's how you say it. He was charged with oral sodomy and attempted assault. And then he ended up claiming that Donald's dad was trying to sabotage him because he wanted to become president of the Iowa JCs. Then Gacy decided to pay an 18-year-old employee that worked for him $300 to beat up Donald and stop him from showing up in court to testify. But he was eventually caught and he admitted guilt. And the employee that Gacy hired basically told the police that Gacy hired him to do that, and it kind of made things worse for Gacy. So he ended up receiving a 10-year sentence in prison. But that's not all. While he was in jail, his father ended up dying of cirrhosis of the liver, but he was not allowed to attend the funeral, even though like people could see that he was like very hurt. Eventually, he was released and placed on probation for 12 months for good behavior. I think he was released after like 2 years. It wasn't long. I can't remember which one it was. He went to jail multiple times, so I can't remember. But he was not in there for the 10 years. He was in there for way less, and he deserved more, but they let him out for good behavior. And he was on probation for 1 year. And then when he was out, Marilyn decided to get a divorce from him, and he deemed Marilyn and their son and daughter dead to him. So he did not communicate with them any longer. So, eventually, after he was released, he moved back to Chicago and then bought a house with his mom. In February 1971, he began luring teen boys into his house once again. He tried to rape one of the boys, and the boy decided to escape. And he told the police, but unfortunately, when it was time to testify in court, the boy did not show up. So, it kind of went down the drain. Nothing really happened. January 2nd of 1972, Timothy Jack McCoy, who was 16, was found sleeping at a bus terminal. He planned to sleep there for a night before he could get on the bus. But Gacy ended up finding him and offered him a bed in his house. So he stayed at Gacy's house, and one morning, Gacy claimed, this is what Gacy claims, so we don't know how true it is, but he claims that he found Timothy standing in his doorway, not over him, but like in his doorway with a knife. And he decided to attack Timothy before Timothy could attack him. He ended up killing him and buried him in the crawl space of his home. Gacy ended up admitting that he realized Timothy was not trying to kill him or hurt him in any way. Timothy was just trying to cook breakfast and was trying to wake Gacy up, and just so happened to have a knife in his hand because he was cooking, which is very unfortunate. And I feel really bad for Timothy because he lost his life when he was trying to do something nice for someone who helped him. He had got married again with his high school sweetheart. She had 2 daughters from a previous relationship, and they all decided to move into Gacy's home, the one where he buried the young boy in his crossface. She knew what happened with the charges for Gacy, but he downplayed them, and then he pretended that he changed. He claimed that he doesn't do that, and it wasn't like that and stuff like that. Then while they were married, he was arrested and charged with sexual assault of another young boy, but the boy tried to blackmail Gacy, and the charges ended up being dropped. Yeah, so he continued to sexually assault these boys and rape them and kill them, and he constantly buried them under his house in the crawl space, and the neighbors could smell it, that it was a smell coming from his house, and he could smell it inside the house and outside the house. You could smell it, and no one really did anything. They didn't really search into it, I guess, because they were just like, yo, clean your house or something like that. So eventually he started a PDM, which is a painting, decorating, and maintenance business, and it wasn't to actually help people and paint and decorate and stuff. It was to lure young boys once again. So he told his friends and everything that he planned to keep costs down by hiring teenage boys, boys who wanted jobs for the summer and such. But it was all just to lure them into his house and to be alone with them so he can do illegal things. How he would do it, he would just basically lure them into his home, and it wouldn't even have to be in the basement or anything. He would just talk about the job, but then eventually he would assault them and kill them. And initially he would claim that he didn't want to kill them, but he ended up killing them while he was raping them and just kind of liked it, so he just kept doing it. In October of 1975, he chose to admit to Carol, his second wife, that he was attracted to young men. They had got a divorce after that. And then in 1976, a year later, to 1978, he managed to hide at least 29 of his victims under his house. And then he dumped the last 4 of his victims in the Des Moines River.
Des Moines.